Hi, guys. I recently did a four-part series over on Instagram, but I'm going to link it here on YouTube about how I found out about all of my ex-husband's betrayals and really where part one started. Part one was that I didn't know he was a narcissist, how we got divorced, the reverse discard. What does that mean? What does that look like? Going through mediation, going through the divorce process, you know, trying to figure all that out. Part two was why did I even get a divorce? Like trying to heal from that, spending that time after the divorce healing from that. Why did I even get a divorce? Like I was so confused about that. If you've ever been with a narcissist, confusion is their main commodity. So it's what they do to make us crazy. Part two also included how I found out about his girlfriend and what that did to me and my healing. Because when you've been betrayed, it's like a bomb has gone off. And that was a big deal. I had been healing for 3 months, just like from irreconcilable differences. And then all of a sudden, boom, I am now healing from narcissistic abuse. So I will link all these videos so you guys can go back and watch them. So part three, I talked about that I sent both of them a text. I wanted answers. I wanted to meet with him, and I wanted answers on why he'd been lying. Why didn't he just ask me for a divorce? And if you've ever met a narcissist, they do not answer why. All they do is lie. And so answering why would involve them really giving two shits, and they don't. They don't give two shits at all about anything except themselves. And so they don't answer why. And you're never going to get the answer that you want from them. It's just never going to be enough. It's just never going to be enough. The person who hurt you is not the one who's going to help you heal. Um, Part four, I talked about a vile text that I sent, how I had to go into my doctor to be tested for STDs. Them moving in together, what that looked like on my end, the pain I was feeling, what was happening through all that. And so today we come to what everyone wanted to hear was part five. I had mentioned in the last video that I wanted to talk about how I started my podcast, what his flying monkeys think of me doing this, what he thinks of me doing this, and anything else like that that has to do with that, the book and anything like that, social media, my podcast, all that stuff. So this is part five. So about 9 months after I got divorced, well, let me back up. 6 months or so after I got divorced, I went into a group, a divorce group, and I've talked about this before, that this group was woefully unprepared for abuse. Everybody in that group was abused, and they were talking like in if we had been healing from irreconcilable differences, if we had just gotten a divorce, for who knows why we got a divorce. We had to do things like look at our part that we played in the relationship, things like that. And we know when there's been abuse, yes, we look at our patterns, we look at um different things that happened in our life, but we do not blame for abuse. And an abuser was abusing us. That is the bottom line. In our healing journey, on our healing journey to break the trauma bond, to heal ourselves, to learn boundaries, to learn self confidence and love, internal validation, all those things, we look at those things and we look at patterns. How did we get here? What are the patterns I need to break? What are the changes I need to make? But we don't sit there and go, what part was I responsible for? Because I'm not responsible for someone abusing me. So there were a lot of things that happened in that group, and really, saying, well, one of the things they talked about reconciliation. No, we don't reconcile with an abuser. We don't ever have contact with them again, if at all possible. And I know some of you have to co-parent. There are strategies for that. Please go to my resources on my website to Connect with people who are doing this work to help you co-parent with an abuser, with your ex, all those things. Reconciliation, different things like that, that were like, I don't want to do that. That's like, I'm not having this discussion about an abuser. So after that, I had a hard time trying to figure out, like, well, I want to talk about this, but it seems like I shouldn't be talking about it. The theme, since I had gotten divorced, within 2 months, I was in a group and I was working on forgiveness. I was very involved in the church at that time. And I was encouraged by a very close friend to forgive and move on. Many people told me that, but this friend specifically. And so I signed up for this group, and that's what the class was really going to be about. We're going to go through all this trauma or different things that you've been through. And at the end, we're doing a whole forgiveness, like basically ceremony. We had a whole thing. Let me tell you, I walked away from there and I was like, hell no, I don't forgive them. And these are some things that I've learned along the way about forgiveness. It was too soon. It was too soon. Forgiving someone that quickly after you've had decades of damage, it was too soon in my healing journey, um to really forgive. And I didn't even know. Actually, I did know. Let's see. I must have known. Yeah. So I don't know when that was. Anyway, I'm trying to play. Yes, I did know about them. Yes, I did know about both of them. So that was, but it was very soon after I found out about them that I was in this event trying to forgive, doing this whole forgiveness ceremony. It was too soon. I got in the car and I was like, no, nope, never mind. I take it all back. And so I've learned along the way that that was too soon. And then also, I have been asked a lot of times about forgiveness. And yes, I understand forgiveness is for us. I think it's different when you're looking at it from abuse, from a point of view of abuse. I think it's harder. I think it's not as easy to forgive. And so what I wrote this in my book, and I the quote was from Glennon Doyle, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong. That maybe as we're going on our healing journey, forgiveness will come along for the ride. And I really felt good about that. I really felt like that's how I feel. As I've been going on this healing journey, forgiveness has come along for the ride. I didn't have to do a ceremony. I didn't have to do one, one fell swoop. Forgiveness is a process. And especially when we've been in abuse, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And so I have always really felt like that, but in the church, it was very much like you got to forgive. You just got to forgive and move on. And I did not feel good about that. So I actually connected with somebody after the divorce group that said, do you know that there's Christian women and men who are speaking about this? And I was like, oh my God, seriously? Because at that time I was very involved in the church, and I was the conversations I was having were by people in the church who were telling me, don't call it abuse, move on, forgive them, move on. You shouldn't be doing social media posts, you shouldn't be doing all these things. And I just felt like silence only protects the abuser. I don't understand why I shouldn't be talking about this. So I actually did think about it for a few days. And then when I met up with this friend, she was telling me about some resources, some people who are speaking about this. And I said, oh my gosh, my life has changed. If they can speak on it, and they're Christian psychologists and they can give scriptures and all that, then I think it's really important that I look into that and see how I can speak on it. So that's what I did. And a couple months later, I started talking to my coach, who's also my podcast producer, and I said, I really want to talk about this, and I think I want to do a podcast on it. And so that's where I'm at podcast was born. I speak about the things that society tells us not to speak about. So many times we're just told to forget about it and move on. Why are you talking about it? We are the bitter ones. We're the bitter ex-wives if we're talking about it. All these things. And so I don't believe that. I know that we are allowed to talk about these things. You're living in the past if you talk about it. No, you're not living in the past if you're talking about it. We are using the information that we have to help others by talking about it. Because what I found when others were talking about it, what I found was I was like, oh, I'm not alone. And because I felt so alone at the beginning, because we really don't talk about it. And so that is the message that I get every day is I'm so glad I found your page because now I don't feel so alone. And that's what I always wanted. If I could help one person, then I've done my job. That's all I needed. So I started the what's that's where I'm at podcast to really talk about these stories, bring these stories to the light so that shame can be broken. Because when we bring shame to the light, I'm sorry, when we bring our stories to the light, shame is broken. Shame is broken when we bring it to the light. And it's been so healing. I mean, I just recently did a podcast episode that'll come out in a few weeks that yeah, I had real time healing on that show. And that's the thing is like there's still things to talk about and unravel and I don't know everything. I never claim to know everything. I love talking to other people about this to help you guys, to help you and help you understand that you're not alone and there is healing. There's hope and healing on the other side. So I started my podcast and I've been doing it for almost 3 years and I've loved every second of talking about it. And do I know if he has ever listened to my podcast? I have no idea, but I do know other things. So when we got divorced, like I said, we were just going through, I was healing from irreconcilable differences and I was sad and all these things. And then I found out about the girlfriend and I had started seeing things. The algorithm started showing me things about narcissistic abuse because I probably said the word gaslighting or something like that. And I started to see things about narcissism and I was like, oh, that's what was going on. And it really made sense. And to me, it really was like a light bulb moment for me. Then, when I found out that he was dating this woman who I'd been getting mad at him about for years, I was like, you guys are way too flirty. I don't get it. And, there's only so much you can say. I've talked about this on multiple episodes. There's only so much you can say because you don't want to get in quote unquote trouble. That's the thing for me is I didn't want to get in trouble for bringing it up because if you've ever been in abuse, you get in trouble for bringing it up. You're the one that at the end who's apologizing for even bringing up the conversation. So it's not about that what they did, it's that you brought it up. Like, how dare you bring it up? So I was really worried about that. And also, if I looked at what was going on right in front of my face, because he was grooming her right in front of my face, if I looked at it too closely, it could blow up my entire life. And that's why we stay too long at places we don't need to be at, with jobs or churches or relationships, because if we decide to pull that thread and unravel what's going on around us, we could lose everything. And I'll tell you, that sounded scary. On the other side of that, it's amazing. And was it hard? Yes. It was extremely hard. It was extremely painful, but there's hope on the other side. There's healing on the other side of that. And Dr. Debbie Silber always says, hard now, easy later, or easy now, hard later. You get to decide. And I had to choose hard now for easy later. because now having boundaries and love for myself and having tools in my toolbox, it's easy now. It's easy now. It was so hard then. But listen, there's hope. So when I found out about the girlfriend, I was furious for one thing, but once I got a few, I don't even know, let's say a few days out of that, because I didn't sleep. I was very dysregulated. I didn't sleep for days. I was in such trauma finding out about this betrayal, everything, finding out all these lies and everything, and understanding that, like, as I started to heal, I was like unraveling, oh my gosh, they've been lying forever. And then also, as you start to heal, you get clarity. And my brain would just like show me things. And I'd be like, oh, that was a lie. And I just had suspected all along something was going on. And they can say all day long that they weren't together, they weren't messing around, they weren't this, they weren't that. Even, let's just say this, even if it was an emotional affair, if it's not agreed upon in your marriage, it's not okay, especially if your partner, in my case, me, saying, I don't like what's going on between you two. And then my husband saying, nothing's going on. I'm sorry that that I'm hurting you. I would never do anything to hurt you. And I don't want you to be jealous. But then turning around and doing it again the next time. That's not okay. That's not okay. Um, if you have an agreed upon, open relationship or whatever, that's different, but this was not agreed upon. And so he was stepping outside of the agreement of our marriage vows. So I made this video and I still have it. And I often, I post it here every once in a while. It was the first video I ever made to talk about what specifically was going on. And it was saying, that my ex said I could trust him with this woman, but I didn't trust him. And now he's dating her. And now he wonders why I'm calling him out as the dog I always knew he was. That video just blew up on my social media, just blew up. And everybody was like, oh my God, Laura, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I just didn't even know how to react because I didn't know what would happen. I didn't even know like what I expected. I have no idea. I just knew I was in pain. He's a dog and I'm about to call him out. Now, I don't use his name, but of course, if you know me, you know who he is. So I don't need to use his name. Insert your narcissist here because they're all the same. They all have the same MO. So when I posted that video, I got a lot of response, a lot of response. And I don't remember what happened exactly. This has been a few years so now. It's been 3.5 years. So I don't exactly remember what happened, but I don't know if I saw one of his friends see my stories or put a angry face on my video. I don't remember exactly how it was because I had unfriended everybody. But some of my videos are public. And also, yeah, so if they're public, you can go and look at them even if you're not friends with me. And this was not on my podcast page. This was just on my personal page. The podcast was not even a thing yet. And so I went to, I don't even remember. I wish I could remember. I'll have to look it up in my journal, but I wish I could remember exactly what happened. But I feel like one of his friends made an angry face or something on the video. And so I was like, well, that's weird. Like, how would he have, seen my videos? And so what that tells me is this: they were watching me. The flying monkeys were already watching. They were watching to see what Laura was doing. And if one of them saw the video, then they all saw the video and they all went talking about it. So I went to that person's page or Facebook profile because I was like, I swear I unfriended them. And they had already blocked me. And how they already blocked you is at some point we were friends and you can't even find them on social media. You can't even find them. And that means you're blocked. So it's not like you weren't friends and it says add friend. No, I was completely blocked. I could not find them. So I was like, okay. So they did see it. And so Over the years, I have no idea is if he's seen things except for when I get a couple reports back here and there. So on TikTok, I I posted videos all the time. I was posting videos all the time as I started to do more of my podcast stuff. When my podcast was up and going, I started to post videos, on social media under my podcast page, talking about everything that was going on, like I do daily now, calling out the narcissist daily. That's what I do. And his one of his best friends was viewing my profile. And it's like, idiots. On TikTok, you can see everything that's going on. On Facebook and Instagram, you you couldn't see things as much. But TikTok, even if you went to my profile, you could see what was going on. I was like, his best friend is looking at me. So I let him watch a few videos. I actually went and made a new video about flying monkeys. Because I'm like, if you're gonna talk about it, here's something else. And then after a while, and I did see he kept looking at my profile. I went ahead and blocked him at some point. But just let him have his fun, see a few videos. That's the thing about me at this point. The healed version of me is super petty. Like, I always err on the side of petty. You're watching me. Oh, let me make you a new video to report back to headquarters, because that's what flying monkeys do. They're going to report back to headquarters. You have a new life. Go live your life. Leave me alone. Leave me alone while I make videos about you. On Instagram, I saw one of his family members, because again, I just unfriended everybody. And stories are public. So on Instagram, I did see one of his family members look at my story about my book that was coming out. And so whether that was reported back to headquarters, I don't know. But, the information is there. That he probably did get the report back, and they probably all talked about it in the family when they got together. Oh my God, Laura's such a crazy bitch. They've always said things about me. They have said things to my face when they think I wasn't listening or hearing them, or maybe it was intentional. I get flashbacks of things in family time that I think you said that on purpose to see what my reaction would be. And it just it's rude. It's rude, but it's also part of their narcissistic family, right? Their narcissistic family system is loyal to the queen mother, right? Loyal to the queen narcissistic mother. And so that loyalty is no matter what. And so if I come in and I'm doing something, frankly, I think it was jealousy. That's what I think. It's like, I'm, I don't know. That's what I always thought, is that they were jealous of me. And so to bring me down, they would say hurtful things. They would just do hurtful things. But even my ex, loyal to the queen mother to the end. And that's just the way it is. That's the normal family dynamic for a system like that. And so does my ex know? I don't know. So, I don't know how many months ago, it doesn't really matter. I got a phone call from one of my kids that said, did I tell you something and you made a video about it? And I was like, oh shit. What do you mean? Because I don't want to like cause a problem with my kids. So if I do tell stories, you're not going to hear me say my kids unless I'm talking about my relationship with them. But yes, I had done a video or a post, and this is how shitty flying monkeys can be too. Like, hello, flying monkeys are supposed to be on the narcissist side. Some shitty ass flying monkey took a screenshot of my post that said something about his lacking as a father, and sent it to my ex. And I'm getting all this information from one of my kids. Send it to my ex and said, I thought you had a good relationship with your kids. that to me, I don't feel bad for him, but I'm just saying, like, what a shitty ass person you have to be to do something like that. That to me is like, seriously? So, and will he not have a relationship with that person ever again? Nope. He'll probably find a way to fix it and make sure he looks like a good dad. But because if somebody did that to me, I would question that friendship and be like, what the hell was that supposed to be? Not to like, I have friends who will say, like, hey, are you okay? Like, what did you do? What did you mean by this? Can we check in to make sure that you're not, something's not going on, something like that? I have friends who care, but to be like, oh, I thought you had a good relationship with your kids. That's to me, it's shitty. To me, it's completely shitty. And I would question that friendship. I really would. So anyway, I didn't take the post down, but what I did say and what I did decide was, I'm so sorry. I don't want to ever come between you and your dad. And so I will consider that anytime I post. And I will really think about that. I felt really bad about that from my child's point of view. That's about it. That's not from my ex. And I don't care what happened to my ex from my child's point of view. If they want to have a relationship with their dad, I don't want to come in between them in some way because they're adults. So I just decided that if I do make any posts, it's not going to be anything that my kids said about their dad. I will find a different way to approach that and say that. We have ways, right, to say things without saying, like, this exact person said it. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I can tell stories without that. And because I didn't want to, hurt them. And so so then what I did after that, I, molded over, sat on that for a while, talked to two friends about it, saying I felt bad about what happened, and and anyway, so then of course I decided I'm not going to talk about them anymore, my kids, in that way. I still talk about my kids and my relationship with my kids and how much we've healed and all that. And then I decided to record a video because I told you I always err on the side of petty. This is what I do. I don't care. This is what I do. I always err on the side of petty. So what I did was I went to my video and I put this in my stories and I said, "Oh, I heard my ex's flying monkeys are screenshotting some of my posts and sending them to my ex. So send them this one." And I just paused so that they could take their screenshot and I said, "Okay, thank you very much." Because I always err on the side of petty. For 33 years I was quiet. I was faithful. I did everything I was supposed to do. I followed that goalpost every time he moved it to try and be better. Went to therapy, did all the things, sat in church and stayed and prayed for 25 years to be better. And you got your feelings hurt over a post. And this is the thing. This is the funny thing, is I was saying to my child, I said, it's so funny to me. I stopped. I go, it's so funny to me that that post got him because the post was so innocuous. It barely did a thing. Couple people commented, but it really wasn't like a viral post or anything. And I said to my child, I said, "Oh my God, I can't believe that one got him. I drag your dad harder than that every day." And they said, "I know." But what we concluded was it's because it was about him as a father. And there's an illusion, there's a facade to still keep up. And I was the one doing that before. And now it's his job. It's his job to keep it up. And so if he's telling his flying monkeys that he has a great relationship with his kids, and then I post something like that, oh my gosh, he might not be seen as the perfect father. And so I just thought that was hilarious. Like before I even was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I was like, "Really? That post?" I was like, of all the posts, that one got him. So whatever. So, and so I always err on the side of petty and I, gave him that one to send to my ex. Did he send it? Who knows? I have no idea. I tried to figure out who could be a friend of his, but if he isn't in my stories, I don't know. Well, who knows? Because I even looked on that post, and of course they might not They might not like it. So I might not know who it was, but I just thought that was funny. Like, give me a break. And the last thing is about my book. So I decided about 2 years, almost 2 years after I got divorced, to start writing a book. I wanted to tell my story. Just it's basically my same story, but in paperback. And well, you can have it on ebook or Audible as well. And I wanted to show the healing journey and how it was my journal entries of how some days were good and some days were terrible. And, because one day it was butterflies and rainbows, and the next day it was like, fuck him, fuck her, fuck this healing journey, fuck everything. And that is the healing journey. The healing journey is messy and tiresome, and it's it's hard now, easy later. So I wanted to show that. And so I wrote this book, had a vision for my cover, had a friend who did the cover for me with AI. Gorgeous work. She just brought my vision to life of what I wanted. And it's just amazing. And it went bestseller right away and everything. And so when I was advertising the book, like I said, on Instagram, I saw family members who had seen the stories I was posting about the book. And so does he know? Probably, if his family members saw it, because my stories are public, so they can see it. And does he know? Maybe. And is it my problem? No, it's not my problem. Because, well, for one thing, the book says this story may or may not be true. So who knows what it's about? Who knows who it's about? Like, could be about anybody. And really, everybody who's so many people who have read the book are like, yeah, me too. Like your story was my story. It's like they have the same MO. That is a good thing, because now we know their playbook. And that's why you got to follow along. That's why you got to, I can help you with coaching, because we know their playbook. We know how to get through this. So that's part 5 of my story. That's part 5. Um, And so every day on social media, I'm calling out the narcissist and helping you heal and move forward, so that I know it's hard now. It'll be easy later. It'll be easy later. We're moving forward so we can create the life we've always wanted. We can create a life that is worthy and is indicative of the life, the person that we are becoming. Who are we becoming? We're building that life. We're building a life around that. So if anything resonated in this video, will you hit that subscribe button? Will you hit the thumbs up button? And will you please leave a comment so this gets pushed out to more people? And I will put the other 4 parts in my shorts. It's me in a blue top, and you'll see it's marked part 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I hope you'll enjoy it. And anything you ever see of mine, I always appreciate if you hit subscribe, follow, thumbs up, heart, any of those things, because it always helps to get the word out. I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by today.